All right. Well, thanks for tuning to another episode of the Y Influence podcast. Today we got an amazing guest. His name is Abe, and he's been sharing content online for a while now. He's approaching 100,000 YouTube subscribers. He's got we'll poke around here in a second. He's got about 120,000 followers on Instagram. He works at GoPro. He's I think in charge of the content and media at GoPro, I believe. So we'll get you to tell us a little bit about that. But first of all, I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time to come on here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always excited to share some insights from either the GoPro end or the influencing and advocate end. So awesome to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen here. So if you're listening on the podcast, just know that on the YouTube video here, we're just going to be poking around his YouTube channel real quick. So first of all, here's Abe's Instagram. So 120,000 followers, awesome, quality pictures, and you're getting anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 likes on most pictures. It seems like. I'm sure that you got some spikes in there as well. Here's the YouTube channel. So he's got 94,000 subscribers. Killing it in some of these more recent videos, 100,000 views, almost 500,000 views 2 weeks ago. So just killing it on YouTube, especially recently. And over 18 million total views on the channel, which is ridiculous. Here on Social Blade, just to give a little bit more here, you can see there's a recent spike. And I think it's due to those last couple of videos that you created. It's actually how I stumbled upon you as a suggested video for me.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, you can see that he's getting, 20 to looks like 80 to 90,000 views per day. So it's crazy that you're in front of that many people every day.
Yeah, nice.
Cool.
That's cool to see. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I don't look into insights all too often, but it's really cool to see. I would say my relationship with posting, especially on YouTube, is a little rocky, and we can go through that in kind of like if we talk about GoPro and stuff, just because my job is like so time intensive. But I love to post, and when I can post, I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job, and it's great content.
Thank you.
So maybe in your words, can you give like a 2 or 3 sentence elevator pitch about what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I'm senior creative director at GoPro. I've been there for 10 years. I have a background in skiing, and that's kind of how I got my job at GoPro, was creating ski videos for my YouTube channel back in 2008, 2009. And since then, I have become more of I would say, action sports visual poster. I would say the kind of content that I create is trying to get unique perspectives in adventure, action sports, or travel, and kind of share my behind the scenes tips and tricks that I've learned over the years by using a GoPro. And whether it's a GoPro or another type of camera, but I have a unique perspective of being able to use cameras for months before anybody else gets them. So I kind of learn the tools of the trade a little earlier, so I can try to share those as quickly as possible when new cameras launch, and just kind of give that guidance throughout the year of really how you can use those tools and capture similar images.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I could see that coming through from the videos that I've watched.
Nice.
So before we get into your story here, do you mind sharing like a story about maybe somebody that's reached out to you as a result of you sharing and going through this journey, and maybe some kind of impact that you've had on someone?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of examples of people that have come forward and say, like, your journey has inspired me to go into film production, or to follow my dreams versus like the traditional path of what I might have thought that I should have done in life. I think one example specifically that stands out is one of my best friends now. He came to USC, and he mentioned, like, right when I first met him, he's like, dude, I saw the videos that you were creating for the ski team. I saw like what you guys were doing, like you're super passionate in your skiing, but also like creating and doing really fun things. So like, I'm really excited to be here because I literally like came to USC because I saw these videos. And now 10 years later, he's still like one of my best friends. We have an amazing friend group that's just grown from our original days as the ski team at USC. And that's, like I said, the start. And it's just really amazing to see us, you know, like 10 years later, to have this friend group that still is like just as passionate in the things that we do and going out on, whether it's on trips or we just get together here and there. And like almost all of us have worked at GoPro at one point or another,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. We kind of had a path after college. And then another one that stands out to me, and I actually like re-looked up this email because really early on, I started making videos in 2009, 2010 on my YouTube channel. And I saw 2011, there was this guy that spent 3 tours in Iraq, and he hadn't skied in 3 years. And I remember him sending me this email, and I was like, holy cow, like people on the other side of the planet are like seeing these videos and they're affecting them. And for me, it was like, it's just like friends kind of goofing off and going skiing. And I was trying to push the limits of what a GoPro could do and kind of show you like what you could do with like a small camera. But he was just like, I haven't skied in 3 years, and times get pretty dark at certain times, but I've really just reverted back to what I love. And like going through your YouTube channel really helped me get through this time. And I just really want to thank you for doing what you do and creating and like living the life that you do. And I think that was really powerful because it just kind of shows you that like you don't really know who is on the other end of what you're sharing. And sometimes you're just like, I don't know why I'm sharing. But I think in those instances, it's like there is somebody on the other end that you don't quite know what their story is going to be or where they are in life, but they're going to find some piece of what you're sharing and hold on to that and like use that as a tool or a means to get through something in life, or like make that next step into a jump or to a new career or into a new path, or like you never really know. It's kind of that butterfly effect. Like what is that thing that helps somebody attain something in life?
Yeah, yeah, and it's not like when you created your YouTube channel in the early days, you're like, I'm creating this so I can create a friend group and go
No,
meet my best friend or
totally
contact these
not.
people on the other
Yeah.
side of the world.
Yeah, it's actually my YouTube channel was originally, I started making videos because we had this ski team at USC, and there were we would always go up to Mammoth every single weekend and kind of just like completely go away from school, which was in downtown LA. And so I started making videos because I wanted to show other people at USC like how much fun we were having on the weekends. It's like, you know, you don't see us, but we go somewhere and like the ski team at USC is actually really awesome and we do awesome things. So I started making these like weekly videos, and from there just kind of progressed into stuff that you might see on my YouTube channel now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you know, let's say you meet someone today that is like, I want to start a YouTube channel. Like they maybe just started or haven't started yet.
Uh-huh.
Like what would be some of your biggest advice to that person?
I mean, there's a lot of different things I think that goes into it. And I'm sure that if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, or maybe you're just learning this now because you're probably watching things to start a YouTube channel, but it's definitely like figuring out what your strength is and what you have to offer other people. I think for me as an artist, I felt like I could push myself to create something that I was proud of and I was excited about. And I think that if you do something like that and it's of high enough quality, whether it be quality storytelling or quality visuals, it's like YouTube, you have a number of different means of putting something out there, but it should be meaningful in some way or another. So that, like, obviously, why is somebody going to try to digest your content versus somebody else's content? And then from there, I think it's just doing it in a specific niche so that you are talking to a very directed audience, that you don't have to broaden yourself too much to where you're kind of all over the place, whether that audience is just filmmaking in general, or it's like good storytelling, or you're like talking to skiers that like to ski on one, ski on Tuesdays. Like it could go as deep as you want it to go, because there is going to be an audience for whatever you're probably trying to find. And then from there, it's just consistency. And I've seen people that, like one YouTuber that I follow, that it looked like he started his channel last year. And I just see that he's like creating really unique content. Every single week he comes out with another video, and he's like up to 5,000 subscribers. And it's just like his persistence and creativity in the content that he was creating. I think just it shows that he was really, really adamant about building this channel. And I think you have to be at a place where you're like, I want to dedicate myself in a specific amount of time, that this is going to be this business or this baby that I'm going to start to develop and build into something.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it all. So you got to really focus on your why. So like, why are you doing it? What value do you have? Then narrow that niche down so that you can tackle the right audience that you want to do. You know, you don't want to cast a wide net, and then just staying consistent with that. And then just, sort of tweaking as you go kind of thing.
But I have noticed that the YouTube algorithm, I feel like, is on your side. Whereas like some people might say like, oh, the Instagram algorithm is so hard to break into, and it's like they're just hiding my content. I feel like YouTube has really done a good job of elevating the videos that should be elevated. And I think that's why you see like my channel has been doing really well as of lately, is because the content that I'm putting out is content that I felt like was quality enough. And there was probably the video that you stumbled upon was a surf video that I put together like the first 2 or 3 months of COVID quarantine. And it was something that I had been wanting to focus on a project big like that for a long time. I just never had the time. And it was something that I was really proud of. And when I put it online, I thought like, yeah, I think people will like it. But now it's got like 800,000 views in like 6 months. And it's like one of the best performing videos, and it's over 20 minutes long. And I couldn't believe it. First of all, I was just like, I did not expect people to like that video as much as they did. But I think YouTube is also serving it up to a lot of people because A, it's long form, and YouTube likes long form. And then B, I think it's just a quality piece of content that a lot of people are engaging with.
Yeah, that's huge. Thanks for sharing that. So let's say now you're talking to someone who's more established, like someone that's been on YouTube for a while. What's like some of your secret sauce? Like, what's something that you're doing different than like the average YouTuber that you could maybe share that an established person could learn from?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I have more secret sauce than anybody else that's established and doing well. One thing that I do strive to do is continually try to learn more and show that off in my work. I think it's pretty easy to get in a stagnant path where it's just like you are just reiterating on what you already know, and you're just creating videos because you've learned that the algorithm will just keep giving you views. But I think if you truly strive to push yourself and do something that's new and unique, that people will latch onto that. For me, it's kind of easy with GoPro because every year we're coming out with new products. And so I'm able to latch onto those new products and either push myself with these things to show people that the stuff that has never been seen before. For example, like we launched a 360 camera last year, and I learned a bunch of stuff about how you would reframe 360 content and how you can make 360 content not look like 360 content, how it can look like impossible camera moves and things like that, and things that people have never seen before. And I think that does really well for someone like me on YouTube, where it's like all of my videos have been GoPro videos, but now they're elevated because there are new shots that you've never seen even captured by any camera ever. So I think, yeah, just going back, I think striving to push yourself, I think, is the best thing that you could probably do.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, keep learning, striving to push yourself, experimenting, things like that.
Yeah, and I also think, going off of my YouTube channel, which is probably not the best case study because I post very erratically, but I post stuff that I'm really, really proud of. And I think if your content is, at a certain level, that you strive to get to that, and then you, even if you're posting twice a year or once every 3 months, then as long as it's that caliber of content, people will recognize.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that advice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's jump into your story a little bit here. You already talked a little bit about it. Like you started your YouTube channel to sort of show off that you're having this fun, get people to come in to the ski team and sort of
Mm-hmm.
onboard more people, build more
Yeah.
community there. But like, was that your entry point to sharing in like a larger capacity? And what did your world look like when you were at that
Yeah.
point?
I kind of have a long history with sharing on the internet, which is a little interesting. But when I was in high school, I was very into skiing. And just as a little bit of background, like I'm a pretty big introvert. I wasn't huge in socializing in high school. I had my friend circle, but then outside of that, I would like go up to the mountains every weekend and go skiing. And there was this is before Facebook, before Instagram or anything like that. There was this website called newschoolers.com, which is a specific freestyle skiing, like a forum where people would go on there and they just talk about the new ski movies, talk about athletes, talk about ski graphics. And they had an image gallery where you could upload images. And in high school, for my senior project in one of my art classes, I painted a series of like acrylic on canvas paintings of like ski themed paintings. And so I was like, oh, I should probably post these on this freestyle skiing website because people might appreciate, like, hey, here's my fine art that I did in school. And I posted them, and I got reached out to by a ski company that said, hey, can you paint something like this for ski graphics? And it was just kind of like this explosion of like, holy cow, like I could put my work out there. Like this is a means to put my work out in front of people, and like doors will open for you. And I think someone as naturally that's not an extrovert and might not be as good at like connecting with other people or going out and meeting people. That was a way to open doors for me in my life. And I ended up designing graphics for that company for 7 years, and went on my YouTube channel to like, I got my job at GoPro because the CEO saw my email or saw my YouTube videos and sent me an email. And I think just continuing throughout, it feels like as an artist, that artist plus introvert combo, it's like my way of connecting with the outside world. And I think a lot of successes in life come from collaborating with others or opening doors to people that you wouldn't have already known. And I think that's kind of like how I've had a lot of success in life is meeting specific people and connecting to other areas and other worlds that I could have never done if I had just kind of like stayed in my bubble. And I'm like, well, I hope I can like find an ad for something where I can reach out to, and I would just never have planned the path of my life. But the doors open because you are sharing work that you're passionate about, and you're sharing hopefully quality content, and people recognize you for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you learned at a young age that, sharing online opened doors for opportunities, and, that came through with your artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then really with your early GoPro videos, was your personality in it, or was it really more just like cinematic kind of shots?
I think there was personality in a degree that like we showed our friends having a good time together. And I think the personality of my style of video was like
Right. Yeah.
high energy and flashy colors and music. And yeah, I mean, I think the personality comes through for sure, but not like me as a character. I also have a hard time like sharing that on social media of like, hey, listen to me as the talking head, because I feel like I usually want to just kind of put my art first. And I don't usually think of myself as like the inspiring figure. It's like I think that my art should speak for itself, and then If you want to hear from me, I'll tell you like what my workflow is. But I think throughout the process of, sharing the art, people also want to know like what are you like behind the scenes, and like I'd like to learn more about you and what your path was, and that kind of stuff.
And that's been coming up more over the years. Like maybe earlier times was less pressure from seeing like you as a talking head kind of character,
Hmm.
and then you're bringing a little bit more of that over time.
Yeah, and I think as people watch your content and probably follow me on Instagram, and they start to feel like they know me as a person, and there's definitely like a segment of my life that I put online and a segment of my life that I keep pretty private. But yeah, I think if somebody follows me for X amount of time, it's like, hey, I've followed you for so long, but I don't even know what you look like. I've never heard you speak to me as like your friend that has followed you for 5 years. And I think there is a little bit of pressure to open up more to your community, because it's like these people have been, I would say, loyal followers for so long that I think I owe it to them to like open up a little bit more, and kind of show that friendship back. But it is kind of like a tricky and a slightly weird situation sometimes.
Yeah, because the passion that you have is to create that artwork and put it out there, and so it's sort of like a little bit of a competition there
Yeah.
for what you're comfortable with and what people might want.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of rings true with a lot of what I've seen at GoPro. Is like we have all of these amazing athletes, and they're getting told like, hey, it's not about your your podium numbers, it's not about how many competitions you win. It's really about like putting your life on social media and letting people connect to you. And a lot of those athletes are like, yo, like I am not a personality. I would love to just shred and do my thing and like not show myself in that vulnerable capacity on the internet. And I totally get that. I think it's you're kind of like either you are that person or you're not that person. And if you want to be successful on social, I would say you do have to kind of go out of your comfort zone a little bit and cater to what is, I think, a means of success.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, even for me in this podcast, first my first three episodes, I literally asked questions, got answers, is on an audio only, and I re-recorded myself asking those questions in post
Oh
editing,
no.
and then I used a drawing of me as my
Uh,
picture.
no,
So
yeah.
it's
No, you learn that people forgive the things that you think are that they'll want to see, and they just want like something that feels very raw and very real, because like that's, it's not about being perfect or just, it just feels like the more real you are, the more people are going to want to connect with you.
yeah, the authenticity and the vulnerability. Awesome. So, you've been doing this for a while now. You had your reasons for starting out. So, how's that evolved over time? Like, what would you say your reasons are for like creating content today or creating content into the future?
Yeah, I don't think that my basic reason has switched. Um, a lot of people ask like, do you still love what you do? And I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't. Um, it's kind of funny when I like catch myself being like that excited child when I'm like out in the field shooting, and I'll be like running over with three cameras in my hands, and I'll be setting things up, and then I look over and my friends are all like, getting the shot or and it's just like I have so much passion for trying to create content, and it's really fun to experiment. And I think it's unfortunate that I feel like content creation has become such a, it's like a fortunate and unfortunate, but content creation has become such a ubiquitous thing, and everybody knows like the influencer, and everybody knows what that means. And so as what I would call myself an artist, um, when I'm going out to create content, I feel like I start to get self-conscious of being hit with the stigma of like, oh, am I being viewed as an influencer out in the wild, or like I have a super long pole with my skiing or like wakeboarding, and I'm trying to get this really unique piece of content because I'm like really experimenting with something new, and hopefully nobody's ever seen this before. But is somebody on the lift looking at me being like, wow, what a tool. So I think that gets in the way a little bit, but and that I think that is part of being a introverted and maybe self-conscious of what I do, and maybe I should just ignore it. And a lot of times you just do, and you just say, you know what, like, I don't care what other people are thinking. I'm creating something fun, whether I have a GoPro in my mouth and I'm walking through a super busy train station, or they don't know what I'm doing, and I have a passion for what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep doing it. Um,
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second,
yeah,
because oftentimes like creating content, you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone. And if you're walking, like if you're wakeboarding with a super long pole and someone's like, "Hey, look at that guy," and you got to deal with that kind of backlash, like what are some tactics that you've used or that you've seen others use that help like overcome those barriers?
Um, I think what you can predict on the other end of it is a very cool shot and people saying like, "Wow, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen." And you're showing something new and you're teaching people how to do something that's unexpected. And yeah, like people in your immediate circle might not think that, but there are so many people out in the world that are seeing what you're doing and appreciating it for what it is. And it makes me really excited when I go back and look at the content. And so I just always think about like, this is worth me feeling like I'm being a weirdo in public because I'm going to be really excited that I have this piece of content when I'm editing. And if I didn't get this, I'd be pretty bummed because this is like a key component of what I'm trying to create. And so I just think of that, and I know how many times that I've been really happy that I've gotten a shot like that. And then also how many times I'm like, man, I wish I would have just busted out the camera and like gotten these pieces that I wanted for this story. And yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
thinking about the end result.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like while you're talking to it, I feel like I can see you imagining shots that you didn't get because
Yeah,
you.
totally. I mean, it happens all the time, and it's also like you might not want to deal with it in the moment, and um, but usually I'm pretty excited when I go home and I'm like, yeah, this was worth it for sure.
Nice. All right. So thinking about who you were before you started a YouTube channel to who you are today, now that you've like pushed over all these barriers, you getting more comfortable, and you're looking like a crazy person out in public, or giving a little bit more of your personality to your community.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel like you've changed? Like, whether it's like self-development related, or like, how have you changed from when you before you started a YouTube channel to like where you are today?
Um, Yeah, I mean, it's hard to attribute where the change comes from. I think for me personally, like I started my YouTube channel over 10 years ago. And I think just as a human being, I have grown myself and learned a lot. And I think a lot of that is from my work, which is like we've been traveled around the world and filmed with athletes. And I think I remember my first time meeting with the owner of that ski company when I was in high school, and I was so nervous, and I like had never talked to anybody that was in that position of power, which was like the CEO of a ski company. And I was so excited to have that opportunity. And I think as you move through life and you like, especially in my position at GoPro, I've we've gone on trips with Travis Rice and Sean White, and I think you learn that everybody is just kind of in the same boat. Like everyone's figuring it out. Like, yeah, Travis Rice might be insane at snowboarding and like an awesome human being, but you learn that everyone is a human. Everyone's on the same kind of level of like they might have mastered one thing, but they're still figuring out something else. And learning that pro athletes aren't all, not to say this is Travis Rice, but other pro athletes, like some of them are introverted. And it's like, wow, those guys are like just like me, where they like kind of feel uncomfortable when they're in a room of people they don't know. Um, and so I think I've learned a lot through that. And you kind of can overcome yourself in specific positions because you kind of read the room and you realize like people aren't that different than myself.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I could see that. Um, so let's talk a little bit about your community. So you've got the community on YouTube, the community on Instagram, the community that you've built just in person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you mind just explaining like what your community world looks like. Are you part of other communities, or do you have like a community hub for the people that are in yours?
Yeah.
And how does it feel?
Yeah, I'd say my community is a little mixed because I came a little bit from the ski background side of things. And then I would say my community now is largely GoPro people that are GoPro fans or image capture fans, I would say. And it's a very very passionate community, especially the GoPro community. And I think I've evolved my Instagram over the years to become a more of like a tips and tricks for GoPro kind of community. And then also, I mean, same with my YouTube channel. It's like every video I release now is how can I help people that have GoPros who are they're following me because they love GoPro and they probably would love to know more about how they can create awesome content. And I feel like I got my start with my YouTube channel by proving what you could capture on a GoPro, this was back before you had really any other HD cameras. You didn't have DSLRs that could shoot video. And so what I was trying to show was like I learned all these workflows and we'll learn color correction. I just wanted to show people that you could create something super cinematic and amazing on a GoPro. And I mean, it's evolved over time because we have other cameras now that, look way better. But I still am kind of living that that vibe of like, let me teach you something that you didn't know you could capture on a GoPro, and you'll be excited when you learn these tools.
Nice.
In terms of community, I don't necessarily think I have a good hub. I have toyed with the idea of creating something that would be a hub, which I think would be awesome. Like I toyed with the idea of doing like a creator classroom group where it was just like people could share tips and tricks. I browse the GoPro Reddit quite a lot and try to help people there. And from there, it's just like I have a community of skiers probably a lot as well on my Instagram.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got a lot of listeners here that are, creatives, content creators, people that aspire to, create a platform or community. And, you can share whatever you're comfortable with as far as this part goes. But from like a very high level, do you mind sharing like your like sources of income or like how you would make a living as an artist and content creator?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm fortunate in that I do have a full-time job, which is creative director at GoPro, and that's kind of how my life is supported. And then I think anything beyond that, I never really put too much focus in, which is probably good and bad. I probably could have monetized I have a website where I post blogs about how to use GoPros. And in its heyday, it was getting like 1 million impressions a year or a month. It was doing very, very well. And I never added ads to that website. I never monetized it. I still haven't. But I probably should at least to just pay the GoDaddy fees, the hosting fees. And then just by the nature of how YouTube is and how it makes it so easy, I belonged to Full Screen for a long time. And so they just were like hooked up all the monetization. But I wouldn't say it's anything that would support a lifestyle, just because I also don't put enough time into it to the point where it could.
Right.
I have it go into a separate PayPal account. And anytime there's something that I want to buy, but I probably don't need, I use that PayPal account. So it's kind of like my beer friend fund of like, oh, this trip would be really fun, but I really don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool way to think about it.
Yeah, and it's not much. It's like really not much, but it's a nice to have where I feel like I'm not really paying for something when I need to.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, I guess, what are you looking forward to? Like, what's the future of what you're doing? I know you mentioned you've toyed with the idea of building like a community hub maybe, but, what's something that you're looking forward to doing as far as your whole community and sharing?
Yeah, I mean,
goes?
I have always been very excited to create more for my YouTube channel. I feel like I got cut off a little bit when I got my full-time job, which was it wasn't something that I thought about then, but then after the fact, I felt like, wow, I was in pretty full stride very early on in YouTube. I don't know if you've ever like heard of Devin Supertramp,
Hmm.
but like he and I were kind of creating similar style videos, and we had about the same amount of subscribers. And then I took a full-time job, and he kept going with his craft and his YouTube channel. And I feel like that kind of derailed me to the point where I was creating awesome content and traveling around the world, and I felt it was an amazing life experience, but I still wasn't giving the right attention to my personal craft, which was creating stuff and learning more every time I made a video. Whereas at GoPro, I was creating stuff that I knew that I could do really well, where I needed to make ad videos or I needed to do like highlight stuff. And I knew how to do that. I didn't have to do too much research. And I would spend lots and lots of time perfecting those and crafting those into something that I felt good about. But on my YouTube channel, it was definitely more experimentation. And every video I did, I wanted to push myself and learn something new. So I think getting back to your question, I've always had the aspiration to get back to that on my YouTube channel, where I'm creating more experimental art where people are seeing stuff that they haven't seen before. And I think the content that I'm creating now is more of like fill the void of teaching people stuff with GoPros, where I think what I would do is still GoPro centric, but it would just be more inspirational, more aspirational, probably more akin to the surf video that you might have seen.
Yeah. I mean, that one did very well. So,
Yeah.
if you, so you maybe have plans to do more similar kind of videos then?
Yeah, I think just finding the time or um, getting the dedication of doing the time. It just takes so much time. I know that I'm sure that you know, but I don't think people quite understand the amount of time that something like that takes, at least for me. But sometimes I think that maybe I'm just really, really slow. But whereas I remember that video, it was like a Sunday, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this out on Monday. And I ended up working on that from like 18 hours a day, and it still took me an entire extra 2 weeks from that. And I was like, I
Oh,
don't know
wow.
how I thought that on Sunday I was going to get it out on Monday. And I was like 6 a.m. every single night as I was staying up and working on it. And it was still a full 2 weeks after the fact
Wow.
where I thought I could finish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that hard work
Yeah.
shows,
Thank
the
you.
results came from it. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, knowing that a lot of people here are um, new to creating content or putting their voice out there, or they're already doing it and just trying to level up.
Mm-hmm.
Before I tell them like the best ways to get in touch with you, do you have any last words for the listeners here today?
Um, no, I just appreciate the time and listening to my story. It's a very kind of strange path that I've taken, but I think what I've learned from my path is that I've always tried to do something that I'm really into personally. And I feel like every decision that I've made has been because I'm really passionate about the direction that I'm going. And I think that's a lot of questions that I get is like which route should I take? Should I go to college? Should I not go to college? Um, and I think just following what you are really into helps a lot, but also trying things that are new. And for me, as I mentioned, somebody that might not have put myself out there as much, I let my art speak, and then hopefully some of that opens doors for me. And then being willing to try other things here and there and put myself into a position that I might feel uncomfortable at first, but at the end of the day, it is something that is going to either you're going to learn from it or you're going to make new connections and new friends that will take you to another and hopefully higher place in your life.
Yeah, that's great advice. It sort of reminds me of back when you were giving the new YouTuber advice, just saying like you really need to hone on to like what you're passionate about so that you can. And I find that a lot here. I mean, it's called why influence for a reason. Why should you share? And
Yeah.
it's all about like really honing that why so that you can have the be able to overcome the barriers that come with
Totally.
sharing and all the hard work that comes with
Yeah.
it. So if someone listening today like got value and like was like, hey, I just want to thank Abe. What's the best way for someone to maybe like send you a message or connect with you, or where do you want them to check out?
I think DMs on Instagram, I definitely read those probably most often. And then, yeah, I think if we want to continue the conversation further, then I'll shoot you my email, and then we can continue that over email. And that's kind of the route that I like to take.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'll make sure to have the links to your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your website, and anything else that I find online. I'll
Cool.
put that in the description and in the show notes for the episode. So just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to come on here and share with us today.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeremy. This was fun.
Yeah. Before I let you go, though, I like to, because I'm on a journey of trying to improve for myself as well. I'm curious if you have any feedback for me. It could be positive, constructive, any kind of feedback.
No, I think this was really fun. I love chatting with other people that are kind of on similar journeys. I think I'd love to hear more about your journey as well along the way. I feel like sometimes I talk a little too long. So if you ever like you can feel free to interject me at any time, and if you have a question that branches off from that, then that's totally something that you should do.
Awesome. And hey, Leo, it's a great stream. So he's
Nice.
here. Yeah, thanks.
What's up? Thanks for joining.
All right. Well, so I definitely encourage you to check out Abe's content. And look at some of his older content and see where he is today and see how he's evolved. And make sure to hit subscribe on his content. And if you're creating creative kind of stuff, maybe keep an eye out for a potential community that's going to be popping up.
Yeah. Hopefully.
in the coming future. And as a reminder, I don't know if you use it, but this podcast is sponsored by TubeBuddy. So it's a plugin for the internet browser that helps you optimize YouTube content. So it gives you like an SEO score and things like that. So got to make sure
I'll check it out.
Sponsors.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening today. If you're interested in growing your influence, then I definitely encourage you to get started on your journey, or go bigger on your journey. One way to do it is obviously to learn more, but you got to eventually take action. And one good way to get a good support network for that is to come to our weekly meetups. We do a meetup every Thursday, and there's a link on our website on a community page, so you're more than welcome to join some of our upcoming meetups. So thanks for listening today. Thanks, Abe, for coming on and sharing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.